Hi, this is David Orlofsky. Welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And whether you're watching with our friends over at Tony Time or wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts, as always, thank you for listening. I take it as a very, very personal endorsement that you take out of your time to listen to anything that I have to say. It is probably one of the most meaningful things that anyone could ask for in this world is attention from somebody else, that they're willing to take out time and listen to what you have to say. And I am truly blessed by the thousands of people who listen to this podcast. And can you? Okay. We have a sponsor this week, first of all, sponsored anonymously in honor of Mally Levinson's 8th grade graduation. Congratulations. Now you get to go to high school, yeshiva katana, whatever they call it, wherever you come from. And listen, you should go mechayil l'chayil. What better gift could anybody want than to know that thousands of people are learning Torah in your schus? What a beautiful thing. And whoever's sponsoring anonymously, I don't know, because it's sponsored anonymously, but they should also have tremendous chizuk from this. Mrs. Feldberger wrote me and asked if I would give a shout out to her husband on his birthday. She didn't bother telling me his first name, so I'm going to say Mr. Feldberger. Happy birthday out there in television land or podcast land or whatever they call it today. And may you chayil and have many, many happy years ahead. Okay, we're done with our business, and now let's get down to the fun part. Rabbi Orlofsky rants about different things. It's so interesting. You know, the Rabbi Orlofsky show, when we started once, and I started, I think, on our first anniversary to do a retrospective, just take little snippets from different shows, and I never finished it, of course, so I guess we'll have to save it for the 3rd anniversary, but which is coming up pretty fast. We started Parshas Noach, so in any event, so I had asked for suggestions for titles. What's it called? This endeavor. Yeah, those of you who remember or watched from the very start, you know, there was the whole discussion, is this a show or a shiur? And I was adamant it is a show. And somebody said, well, then why does Torah Anytime have it on? It should be show anytime. I said, that's a good question. Should ask them. I don't know why. But in any event, could be for the little bits of Torah that sneak in. Agav, when people aren't looking. In any event, so we've been doing Pirkei Avos, and we are. Oh, I forgot the point I was trying to make. ADD. Anyway, so one of the suggestions for the name was Dave's Raves, which I don't know that I want to go by that by my English name. You know, by the name of Dovid. David Howard. I come from a generation where they used to give you the Hebrew names to match the English names to match the Hebrew names. So my brother, who's Bended Avram, they named him Bruce Adam. And you know, they would give you English names to match the Hebrew names. So it's David Howard. So when I started in yeshiva, so they said, "What's your name?" I said, "David Howard." He goes, "Oh, so it must be David Tzvi." Because Howard was given for Tzvi. Anyway, that's how I got called up for my bar mitzvah. For years, I was called up that way. And once my father says to me, "Who's Tzvi?" I said, "I am." He says, "Your name is Hirsch. That's why we named you Howard." I answered Steinberg. He says, "Tzvi Hirsch is the same name, you know." So I became David Tzvi Hirsch. Ben Moshe Yehuda Cohen. It's a big name. About a year before he passed away, he said to me, "Who's Tzvi Hirsch?" I said, "I am." He says, I named you Herschel. I said, Dad, there's no more room. Sorry, we're done. That's it. Finished. But so I don't know if I want to go with Dave, and David's Hirsch ran, so it doesn't have the same ring to it. Anyway, but yeah, every now and then gives me an opportunity to talk about things might be bothering me. And I have to say, this is a really rare opportunity. Moshe Shapiro used to say that everybody wants to affect the world. And we sense that the way we affect the world is through dibur. That's why the Maharal says that the word davar and daber are the same letters. Because everything is a word. Baruch she'amar v'haya olam. Yeah. That's actually a Mishnah in this week's the parak that we're up to this week. Yeah, but the fifth parak of Pirkei Avos is Ba'asar Mamoros. Yeah, Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world with 10 expressions. He spoke. Yeah, so we want to affect the world through our power of speech. So he says there are some people, they read the paper, they get upset, they yell at their wife. What are these people doing? What do these people think they're doing? Yeah. Politics today is just unbelievable. Unbelievable for your blood pressure. If you try to follow this stuff, it's really not good. I have a heart condition. I can't get upset, Yeah. So I just got a little message. They said, to have in mind in your Shabbos Zmiros. Hashomer Shabbos Benedim Abbas. Not so funny, but anyway, it is clever. Points for cleverness. So, so in any event, we read the paper, and then we yell at our wife. What are these people doing? What are these people? That's it. We made our contribution. We changed the world. Yeah, and some people, they feel like they have to do more, so they call up a radio show. They say, I think, da, 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 da. Thank you, caller. Now I changed the world because we understand. So me, I get emails and phone calls from people who tell me that there are things that I say that actually have meaning to their lives. So what an opportunity. I give a shir Masil Shasharm in Telstone. I give a shir Masil Shasharm in Harnov. I give a shir 2 shiurim online. And so we speak about it a lot. But anyway, we've been talking somehow, we were talking about Chevra in Perik Hay, how, your society can stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. And we were talking about problems in society. And the question comes up, so why doesn't anybody do anything? So I said, I am. If I have to save the world myself, I will. If anybody wants to help me, there'll be 2 of us. I'm not giving up. So the fact that I have a forum, is an unbelievable thing to have a chance to share my thoughts. Yeah. I feel so bad. There's so many people that sit at home. Nobody wants to listen to them, and they just get very frustrated. Me, I get to sit in front of my computer and just rant about whatever I feel like talking about. And what can I tell you? Even people who don't like it, they say, well, I have to say, he is just so adorable. He has that pixie-like look to him and those bright eyes. And I just love to look at him. He makes me laugh. Someone says, you're funny looking. There's a good 8th grade joke for you over there, Mati. You can use that one. See if it carries over into 9th grade. You're funny looking. Anyway, so I want to pick out one line in one mission. I'm telling you, if I was to go through all of Pirkei Avos, forget it. I'll be set for the next 25 years. Open parentheses. I started doing this thing where I would do a letter of the Aleph Beis and tie it into the letter in Orshamnu and the Al-Chetz and explain how the Averis that are mentioned with that letter ties into the letter. And when I started, everyone thought it was pretty funny. Like, what are you going to do this for the next 22 years? Anyway, I got up to Nun. Last year was supposed to be Samach, but of course things got canceled because of Corona. So we'll see if we pick up from there. Anyway, but someone says, you really think you're going to finish it? I said, listen, I call this job security. It's not with Kosh Baruch who's getting rid of me, if I don't finish the series. So Lahavdil. There was this woman, J.K. Rowling, who wrote this somewhat popular series of children's books that later became adult books. Anyway, so of course the Harry Potter series, and she managed, really quite an accomplishment, to hide most of the mystery for 6 books. And comes the 7th book, she has to answer all the kashas. I think, what happens if she dies? I saw an interview with the guy who writes Game of Thrones, and he's, they said, what question do you, upsets you the most, that you don't like to be asked? Is, who's going to finish the series after you die? This is like 12 years in between books, it's like, unless you plan on living to 110, there's no way you're going to finish this stuff. In any event, so hopefully, Amir Hashem, I have a chance to finish that series, but if I do Pirkei Avos, think about Arichas Yamim to get through everything. I was going to a shir with Moshe Shapiro and Mishlei with the Gra. Forget about it. He could spend, 10 weeks on one pasuk. So, fortunately, Kosh Baruch Hu took him before he was able to finish the Avoda. But I don't know who can do justice to Mishlei with the Gra. I mean, the Gra starts in outer space, and Reb Moshe used to take off from there, from the space station there. So, really quite a challenge. Anyway, so I want to take one line from one Mishnah, and that's the following. Yeah, there's 4 types of attitudes that people have, says the Mishnah. Shali. Well, let's do the Russia first. Shali, v'shalcha shali. That's a Russia. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. That's a Russia. Everything belongs to me. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is yours. That's a chassid. A chassid is the name of short din. I don't have to give you everything. Yeah. Shali shalcha v'shalcha shali. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. Zu ama aretz. Ama aretz. You can translate that a lot of different ways, but basically, you're a communist, socialist. I'm not sure what the difference is really. Yeah, but basically it means I give you my stuff, you give me your stuff, and there's no personal possession. It's the world doesn't function that way. Because Baruch Hu set up the world with a lot of halachas relating to personal ownership. Because Baruch Hu was a capitalist. Yeah, and he saw the world through that kind of lens. And it's the last one that I want to address, and that is shali v'shalcha shalcha. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. Zu midas beinanis, yeshayrim zu midas stoim. Wow, that's really pretty severe. I say that's normal. Or you're like the people of Stone who were destroyed by fire and brimstone. Pretty severe. What's the difference? Well, the Mepharshim explain. Difference is an attitude. The fact that I expect to be able to hold on to my own stuff and that I respect your property rights, that's okay. But then you can take that to an extreme. I have a cup of water. I'd rather spill it out than give it to you. That's stone. What do you care? Give it to the guy. This guy gains, you don't lose. What do you care? You're going to throw it in the garbage anyway. That's me, the stone. Now, stone, needless to say, we present them as a pretty evil place. I'm basing that upon the fact that the Torah says they're a pretty evil group of people. So I think we're on safe ground if we say that. But like all people, they had a philosophy. People aren't crazy. The Nazis had a philosophy. They felt they were saving the Aryan race. They felt they were Aryans. They felt the Aryans were the master race, and the Jews were trying to water down the gene pool and trying to, make all kinds of problems in the world. So we have to get rid of them. As Hitler said, Yimach Shemai, the Jews have inflicted two wounds on mankind: circumcision on their body and morality on their soul. These are Jewish inventions. This war is between the Jews and the Germans. All else is facade and illusion. The historian Lucy Davidowitz, who wrote a book called The War Against the Jews, where she says, unless you take Hitler at his word, there's no way to explain his actions. If his goal was to take over the world, why would you kill the Jews in ghettos who are making you essential war materials? It doesn't make any sense. Why, when you have to fight the Allies who've landed on Europe, would you divert trains just to be able to kill Jews instead of using them to be able to take your troops to the front? Doesn't make sense. So, be that as it may, they had a philosophy. Everybody has a philosophy. Everybody, thinks that what they're doing makes sense. And even though to us it may sometimes be crazy, we can't understand. Hamas shoots missiles at us. We didn't do anything to them. It shoots missiles at us. And the whole world condemns us because we responded. And I always ask, what should we do? What should we do? And nobody answers this question. If you ever looked at these clips of people who are talking to the media and they said, what should we do when people bomb them? No answer. Yes, but you're killing women and children. I know, because they're hiding their missiles among women and children. Why don't you ask them why they are hiding their missiles among women and children? But what are we supposed to do? Just let them bomb us? Yeah, but you're killing women and children. I understand. So even though sometimes we struggle to understand, Stone had a philosophy. There are a number of Black leaders who claim that when Lyndon Johnson's war against poverty, which made the Black community dependent on handouts from the federal government, destroyed the Black community. I mean, it's not hard to understand. There are a lot of businesses right now in America that can't hire workers because they're getting paid more money not to work. So why would I work for less money? People don't always realize that their philosophy has consequences. Sounds nice. Give people free money. That's what Stone was afraid of. Stone said, we are not going to develop a society of dependence. We're going to make everybody stand on their own 2 feet. Australia has a policy: if you want to emigrate, you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank before you come, or have a skill that we need. In America, we call that racist, but that's what they do in Australia. Why? Because there's lots of people who want to come to Australia. So they said, we can't accommodate everybody. We have to get people who we feel are going to be contributing members of society. And that's what Stone said. If you're coming here and you've got enough money to live, buy yourself a house, set yourself up, you can come. Lot was welcomed in. He had money. But you're some poor guy, some schnorrer passing through, you'll destroy our society. You'll give people this idea that they can expect handouts. I don't have to give you anything. My father, Shalom, grew up during the Depression. And his father didn't have a lot to offer him. He was in the garment business. He worked when he felt like it. And he liked to play pinochle, and he wasn't very good at winning. So my father grew up with real hunger, real poverty, real poverty. And he pulled himself up by his bootstraps. It was an amazing thing. He hung around the fur district, and he dropped out of school after 9th grade. I had to try to work. So he would hang around the fur district, sweep the floors, offer to get the guys coffee. And while they were there, they would say, come here, kid, let me teach you something. Well, you see this stain? I'll show you how to get it out. You see how you cut this? Here's how you do this. And by hanging around, he learned the fur business and became so good at it that at the ripe old age of, I think, 17, they made him a manager of a factory in Boston, of a fur factory. And he says, but my family's here. He was only 17 years old. So every week, they would fly him back and forth. It's in the 1940s. Flying was not the same as it is today. They would fly him back and forth from Boston every week. And it was hard. It was good money. He said, I was making good money. So he became a delivery boy for Spitz and Peck, the florist, and he learned the flower business. Eventually, he opened up his own florist. It was very interesting. It was a florist and nursery. What he bought was a florist and nursery. He didn't know the nursery business at all. So as soon as he opened up, all the salesmen came around. And my father said to them, I'm telling you up front, I don't know the nursery business. You can take advantage of me and sell me your garbage products that aren't going to sell. But only once, and I'll never buy from you again. But if you treat me right, I'll be loyal to you forever. So they said, okay, we'll tell you what sells. You want to sell this, you want to sell that, So my mother would go in to help him in the store. She didn't know anything about this. She said she would read the New York Times gardening section. And every Monday, somebody would come in and ask the question from the New York Times gardening section, like to try to catch me. Well, how do you repot an azalea? He goes, oh, yeah, well, the way you want to do it is like this, He built it up into the largest florist in Brooklyn. Yeah. And worked very hard. Worked very hard. My father was, for sure, a self-made man, and he valued that. One of my brothers told me he was unloading a truck with 50-pound bags of soil. It was in the summer, working hard. My father comes out, looks, and says, you need a hand? My brother says, yeah. He goes, look at the end of your arm. Now, that's kind of rough. But that's because my father didn't have anybody to help him. He had to pull himself up by himself. And that's what he expected from other people. Now, don't get me wrong. I say that. And my father was a tremendous belt stucker. He had a lot of money at stucker. And he would always give it anonymously. That was very important to him. I had a Rebbe in 6th grade, died very young. He didn't have any insurance. My father used to make a Simchas Beis HaShoeva every year. And a lot of people came. And we had things going on. There was chafing dishes and food, and it was a tremendous event, really a tremendous event. We had a really special sukkah, and people used to come just to see our sukkah because my father was a florist. He made the whole thing out of greens. He nailed on trellises and he wired on cedar greens on the inside and the outside. He used the cedar as the schach, and he would only use real decorations. He used straw flowers and autumn leaves and Indian corn and gourds and things like that. No paper chains in my sukkah growing up. Yeah. And we had a soda fountain in the basement. People today don't even know what a soda fountain was. Back in the old days, there used to be like a soda shop. When you think now of a soda, you go and you buy a bottle of soda. So there used to be a tap for seltzer. There was a seltzer maker, and you would take syrup. You would pump. If you wanted a Coke, you'd put in Coke syrup. You add the seltzer, mix it up. All kinds of different drinks. And there was a place there for ice cream and for hot fudge and all these kind of things. So it was a candy store. A candy store used to have these things. It was going out of business. My father bought the soda fountain and set it up in our basement. And used to have birthday parties down there. Made a little ice cream parlor. And we played pin the cherry on the sundae. My mom. Anyway, so so there'd be people downstairs working the ice cream bar, and there'd be people over here. It was like it was quite a scene. Anyway, my father often had a cheshbon of who he invited. So he told the almana of this particular teacher of mine to please come and to come to the Sukkot party. Yeah, Sukkot's basic shiurim. And she didn't know why. She'd never been invited before, But he says, listen, I loved your husband. He was a very, very special man. My father really, really admired him. My father did not give out praise easily, yeah. But he was in awe of Rebbe. Everyone called him Rebbe. Anyway, so the almana comes, and at the end, she's getting ready to leave. And she opens her purse, and she goes over to my father and says, I can't. And my father was upset. He was like angry. He said, it's not for you, it's for the children. She said, I can't. And she pulls out this giant wad of cash that my father slipped into her purse because he didn't want her to know that he was giving her the money. And he fought with her until she agreed to take the money. And he would tell me all the time, I'm so sorry she did that because I wanted it to be quiet. He always believed in give stuck, you give it quietly. I came home once from school. Both my parents worked. I came home from school. And there was a box from Gimbal's. You never heard of Gimbal's? I think it's in the third Marvelous Meadows Machine tape. But anyway, so CD recording, download, whatever. I'm saying tape. Anyway, so Gimbal's was like a Macy's. It was like one of these department stores. There's a box from Gimbal's. And I called my mother. I said, what is this? She goes, get on your bicycle, drop it off at this address, ring the doorbell, and leave. I said, what is it? She said, none of your business. So, of course, I opened the box because, I don't know, maybe I'm getting involved in some drug deal, you know what I mean? I'm not going down for my folks. And I opened it up, and it's a suit. And then I remembered on Rosh Hashanah, we went to shul, and there was this teenager whose father had died. Obviously, they were going through difficult times. And my mother noticed he was wearing a frayed suit that was too small on him. So my mother went out and bought him a new suit. How did my mother know? My mother had 6 boys. Now, for the benefit of the men out there, girls know this already, women understand this, but for the benefit of the men, let me explain to you. To women, clothing shopping is a recreational activity. Like we would go out and, maybe play ball or, do something. They'll get together with a couple of friends and go shopping, like on purpose. Not even to buy things, like let's go shopping. It's like a recreational activity. To a man, it's a form of torture. What do you think Gehenna's going to be? It's got a giant mall. It's going to be going from store to store. But women love to shop. Now, I'm one of 6 boys. There were no girls in my family, only boys. None of us wanted to go shopping for clothes. My mother would take us shopping, and we'd be hiding inside of the racks, We'd be in the here, we'd be playing tag. My mother would, stuff it! We'll stuff it! And, it was difficult things. After a while, my mother wouldn't even take us. She could just know your size by looking at you, and she would buy you the clothes. And if you say I didn't like it, she'd say, be quiet and wear it. And if you did, you almost always got compliments. My mother had excellent taste. But so she obviously looked at this kid, figured out his size, bought him a suit. But it was so important to them that nobody knew. We went back to Shul Yom Kippur. That's where I get the suit. I think they knew because the mother turned around and looked at my parents. I think they figured it out, but that's how my father wanted to do it. But a person who's an able-bodied individual who should be able to contribute, take care of themselves. I didn't know how to sit through a meal. I grew up and I didn't know how to sit through a meal. My mother's mantra was, it's the maid's day off. And so we were always, the whole meal, we were serving, we were clearing, we were loading the dishwasher, we were, putting away stuff. I mean, we worked the whole meal. That's how it was. When I went away to yeshiva and I would be invited out for a meal, I wouldn't know how to sit through a meal. I wasn't raised that way. So I would start clearing, or I'd start serving, and the husband would be like, my wife does that. I said, sorry, I had bad chinuch. I don't know how to sit there. And notice the wives never complained. The husbands who felt like, just sit here and let my wife do it. The only wife who ever complained was Rebbe Shapiro, Moshe Shapiro's wife. Who was there for Purim and I was clearing off. And she says, no, I do that. And I said, bad chinuch. So my mom brought me up. I don't know how to just sit there when there's clearing off to do. I just hear my mother going, let's go. The maid's day off. So the sense of responsibility without the compassion, that's what Stone was. There was no safety net. There was no charity. The idea was, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and if you can't, we'll cut off your feet. You want to come here and mooch off of us? We work for a living. Get yourself together. They were destroyed. Ask the Mefarshim. Chesed is not one of the Sheva Mitzvahs V'nei Noach. Why were they destroyed? They were destroyed because Olam Chesed Yibanen. The world, one of the three pillars of the world is Chesed. Without Chesed, the world can't exist. So, does that mean I have to give away everything that I have? No. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. That's normal. There's no fault in that. But if it comes to the point that I won't give you something that I don't need, I'd rather burn it before I give it to you. That's Stone. Is it a philosophy? Sure, it's a philosophy. But if you take an approach of life of nothing, when Moshe Shapiro was sending yeshiva for his mother, so I went to pay a shiva call a couple of times. And at one point, there was somebody from America, and he said to Moshe, he says, I don't understand. These yeshiva bachrim come back from Israel. They've been learning for years. They go into business, and they're cutthroats. Their words doesn't mean anything. They'll chisel you down for a nickel. I've never seen anything like this. Why are they so cutthroat? So Moshe said, because Torah is din. It's not feel-good stuff. Rabbi Yitzchak Rosenberg tells a story. He had a kid in NCSY, and he went to his Rabbi David Lipschitz to explain the situation. He said, it's very important that we find a heter. David looks at him and says, listen, an almana comes to me with a chicken. She wants to know if it's kosher. I can cry for her. I can give it tzedakah. But if the chicken is treif, it's treif. No such a thing as I have to find a heter. Torah is din. Either it is or it isn't. That's it. There's no in between. So if you lived your whole life in din, you can't go that way into life. You have to understand shali shali v'shalcha shalcha. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. But there's got to be a little flexibility. You gotta have a little give and take. Don't fight over everything. I know a guy who only uses his credit card. I said, why? Because here in Eretz Yisrael, there's no 5 agorot pieces. he says. So if it comes out to like 98 shekels and 36 agorot, they're going to charge me 40 agorot if I pay cash. On a credit card, they can do 36 agorot. So for those extra 4 agorot, he's going to make sure and use his credit card. Not pay cash. Listen, you know, you have to be a little flexible. I do it. Sure, everybody does. You go out to dinner, and, you work out the tip, it's 15%. You ever see people counting out like pennies to make sure that they don't give more than 15%? It's okay. It's okay. You can estimate up a little bit. I do that. I estimate up a little bit, so that that's if they're counting out 37 cents, 15%. But we can look at life as that's it. This is all. This is mine. You can't have it at all. I'll spill it out before I'll give it to you. These are meisim shebechol yom that you see people do this. I have a nephew. He can't park on the street because his neighbor gets upset. He parks in front of my nephew's house. The nephew's not allowed to park in front of his house. It's the street. It doesn't belong to anybody. Doesn't make a difference. Then I want it. I won't let anybody park there. I was sitting in shiva for my father. There were a lot of people coming to pay a shiva call. Well, we're 6 boys, and my mother. And it was on the last day. I'm in my socks. The neighbor across the street, who we had nothing to do with, not Jewish, rings the doorbell, and I come out. She shows me her car that somebody, when they pulled away, they pulled off her fender. She says, one of the people came to visit, you did this. I said, did you see who? She says, no. I said, then how do you know it was one of those people who did it? Well, who else did it? I said, I really don't know. I've been inside the house sitting on the floor in my socks because my father died. Well, you're responsible. I have to find out who did it. I want a list of all the people who came. Seems that her fender had come off a number of times. Her husband stuck it back on. Came across the street to apologize. I'm sorry you lost your father. Can you imagine going to someone sitting shivering and yelling at them because, the fender that came off of your car a whole bunch of times, came off again, and want to find out who did it. It's okay. It's okay. Shali, shali, shalcha, shalcha. Not to get crazy. That doesn't mean you have to give away your stuff. That doesn't mean you have to be mafka everything. It means you don't have to let people treat you like a shmata. You're entitled to what's yours. But I lived in Far Rockaway. There was a levaya at the Aguda. I had to get to work. Somebody parked in front of my driveway. I couldn't pull out for an hour. Okay, that's Zalobasena. I'm going to park in front of my house. Okay, take my parking street on the street on the street. Okay, I understand. It's the street. You blocked me in because you couldn't find. See, eventually he came out after an hour. I was pretty upset. He says, "Well, I couldn't find any parking." Oh, I didn't understand. Couldn't find any parking, so then that gives you a right to be mazik me. No, but if a person wants to park in front of my house, what are you doing here? I might want to use that. Zug me debating this. Gotta have a little give and take. Got to be a little flexible. Got to know what's worth fighting over and what isn't. What's a big deal and what's not a big deal. And the devil's in the details, or in this case, the angel's in the details. I can't tell you on every single case what's right, where a person's abusing you or not. But here in Eretz Yisrael, you see it a lot. I don't know if you see it in America so much, but people have an apartment, not very big. They make a simcha, so they have the men in their apartment and the women in the neighbor's apartment. The neighbors open up their house, let you set up over there for the opposite gender, whichever one it happens to be. It's my house. I don't have to let you. I could say, this is my house, and you don't step foot in front of it. Zoom me this time. That's it for this week. If you want to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com. You can leave a message, contact me. You can sponsor an episode. And until next time, I'm David Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.